2015 actually, was it interesting in terms of IT security, in terms of data breaches? Actually not really, I have to say, because a lot of the stuff we have predicted before for 2015 was pretty common, that it will happen, like more data breaches, more attacks. The attackers somehow tune the malware to make it more sophisticated in their mind, but it was relatively easy to spot it. We saw state-sponsored attacks or likely state-sponsored attacks, which was also pretty clear. We saw a lot of ransomware, but everything is pretty normal. And I'm really surprised that we still see end users paying after ransomware incident. Have they never heard of backups or doing proper data security? And when I even see companies who are paying for ransomware incidents, I really have to say, do they really do the security basics? So a lot of the attacks we have seen in 2015, if companies would have done the security basics even, it wouldn't have been happened. And that's sad somehow.
One of the things we said that would happen in 2016, in this year, would be that somebody would die because of an IoT failure or hacking. If you take that externally, people are going to say that's a very bold claim. Why do we think that's going to happen?
It is a very bold claim, but we see such a network of Internet of Things everywhere, and we see things connected to the Internet, which in the past never have been connected to the Internet. These systems haven't been designed to be connected, but everybody says, you know, time to manufacturing, everything needs to be faster, we are getting more data from the sensors, so it's all beneficial, but the companies are not talking really about the threats linked to it when you connect something. So how could it be a pressurized container in a factory could blow up because the valves readings are wrong, or somebody hacks from external and based on this somebody will die. Somebody, you know, in a basement will get creative with a remote controlled drone and do something funky with it, and somebody will die of it. We don't know exactly what will happen, but we are in an, I would say, in a time where everything is hyper-connected, so mistakes will happen. In the past, the mistakes normally just affected the IT organization, a server blew up, or data has been lost or stolen. But unfortunately, with linking these physical devices to our proven unsafe network, something bad will happen, and unfortunately, likely will.
Something that definitely did happen a lot in 2015 was people being victimized by ransomware. We said that this year will be the year of online extortion. Given that we've already seen how 2015 was so bad for extortion, how worse can it get in 2016?
Oh, let's stay with ransomware. As I mentioned before, you know, users, if they do a proper backup, they shouldn't be afraid of ransomware. But the attackers know this as well. So when the attackers figure out that people do constant backup, do basic security, what the attackers will do, and we already see this, is they not only encrypt your local hard drive, they also will grab information from your hard drive. They will grab pictures, they will grab documents, and then a sweatshop in India or somewhere, they will look at this stuff, and if the stuff is sensitive, they will not only confront you with, hey, I encrypted your hard drive, pay, and you say, hey, I have backup, I don't pay. They will say, but I have nudies of yourself. I have, you know, certain information about your family. Maybe you link it with Ashley Madison or something like this, and based on this, the victims will pay again. And think about enterprises. You know, enterprises should have proper systems in place to protect against DDoS, to protect against extortion. But once it happens, there will be attempts to monetize it. And monetizing it sometimes is releasing the data, leaking the data, but it also could be, you know, pay me a certain amount of money and it will not be public.
We've seen some advice from other sources that say if you're victimized by ransomware, you should pay up. What do you think of this advice?
This actually even came up from the FBI, and I have to say, again, if you lost everything, if all your data is encrypted, if your only way to get the data back is paying the bad guys, I understand this advice. But is it good? No. It's fueling cybercrime. But if you're desperate, I would say the advice from the FBI is that it's so well encrypted that you can't decrypt it, you know, through a backdoor, or by giving it to a forensic expert. So actually, if you want your data back, if you haven't stored your data somewhere else, yeah, you have to pay to get it back, as bad as it is.
Well, a ransomware scenario is already complicated for end users, but it becomes much more complicated for companies. And I think in the predictions you mentioned about companies having data protection officers. So I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with that kind of role. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, data protection officer, for me as a German, it's pretty normal because for years now, when you are a company which stores end user personal data, when you're a company with 9 employees or more in Germany, by law, you need to have a data protection officer. And this guy takes care that you follow the rules and regulation around personal information. Maybe one of the reasons why you don't hear a lot about data breaches in Germany. And to be honest, this data protection officer also helps German companies to stay, the management team to stay out of jail, because a data breach in Germany is really severe. You might end up with a criminal record if you haven't done everything possible to protect the data, and the data protection officer plays an important role. And by law, the data protection officer also has a certain empowerment within the company. You can't fire him easily. He could be very open about it. He could mention something to the board when he detected something in the middle level and this kind of stuff. So it actually helps you to stay safe and to stay honest. And with the upcoming EU data protection regulation, which will be law by 2018 all over Europe, we will see more demand for these data protection officer. And this is why we also put it into our predictions for 2016, that there will be a demand, that data protection officers will be very busy. And I know already in Europe, with the upcoming regulation, there is a shortage of these data protection officers. And it's also, it's not just about compliance. If a data protection officer only would care about compliance, it will be like now, rubber stamping, just saying, hey, we are all good, we are PCI, payment card industry compliant, we have done everything, and if a breach happens, bad luck. But it isn't this way, because compliance only looks for checkboxes, rubber stamping. It doesn't say, hey guys, is it really safe? It just says, is it compliant? It's not a data compliance officer, it's a data protection officer. So this guy, for example, could say, hey, I recommend to the board, guys, let's hire an external company to do a pen testing. And he will document this. I recommended this. The board still could decide, hey, we don't want to do it. But if they don't do it after the data protection officer recommended it, and then afterwards something happens, the board is in trouble.
So what do you think, what are the kinds of issues that a future data protection officer might face? Because it seems it's already properly implemented in Germany, but not everywhere else.
Yeah, what they're facing at first, the implementation of this role, the acceptance of the role, and of course the data protection officer will have the constant fight with budget, might be seen as a, data prevention officer. Because he will tell you, like, for example, you can't transfer data to this country without special agreements. You can't do this, you can't do that. He's not seen as value adding, but he's seen somebody who makes communication and data sharing difficult. So embedding this into a current organization will not be easy, and the company has to accept that this is actually business enabling, because it helps companies not only to work in the frame of law, but it also helps companies to stay safer and stay out of the public. Because a data breach, no matter which company, once you have a data breach, once it gets public, your brand name, reputation is gone for a while.
So, if you could talk to yourself at the end of 2016, what do you want to hear that happened in 2016? And do you think, will the year be better or worse for security?
It could be better, because I think everybody is awake now. Everybody knows that data protection is important. Everybody knows that IT security is part of the normal processes of how business are operating nowadays. There have been so many breaches, there was so much pain that companies, I think, finally say it's a board level topic. With the upcoming regulations and the fines adjected to it, it will be a board level topic. And if companies don't start in 2016 and don't adapt to the upcoming regulation in Europe, they can't do business in Europe anymore. So I hope that companies are investing in 2016 in data protection, processes, people, and all the tools. And based on this, at the end of 2016, I hope I could say, hey, it's actually not worse than 2015. It's actually getting better. Let's see.